Lena Alvarez slid the final contract into a blue folder as thunder rolled over the 30th floor. The glass walls trembled, the building hummed like a tuned instrument. She checked the clock, 3 in the morning, and clicked send on the last email. Behind her, the door eased open. "Again," Adrian Vale said, his voice low from hours of talking. He set his leather notebook on the desk and tugged at his cufflinks, gold squares that caught the weak light. The chief executive officer of Vale Meridian looked older than he had at midnight. His tie lay limply in his pocket, as if even silk had its limits. "You got what you needed," Lena replied, switching windows on the screen. "If the board does not like the numbers, they can take it up with the weather." A silence settled. Rain hissed against the windows. The air conditioning clicked. Adrian's phone buzzed. He frowned, glanced down, and his face tightened in an instant. He turned the screen toward her. A gossip site blinked back, a grainy photo of them, 2 silhouettes behind glass, his shoulder hovering near hers. The headline oozed implication, "Power Night at Vale Meridian." Her spine straightened. They did not waste time. "They never do," Adrian exhaled slowly, the sound ragged. "Markets open in 5 hours. If this spreads, it touches the stock, the board, my wife." He said that last word like a fragile object set down too hard. Lena looked at him and then at the photo again. The angle was perfect mischief. She saw the reflection of rain, the smear of light, how closeness had become story. "We need a statement," she said. "Simple, precise, and immediate." He nodded and began to pace. The sound of his shoes against wood was a steady metronome. "No lies," he said. "No exploitation of you. You did your job. You have done nothing wrong." "I am not worried about me," she lied, and her throat warmed with the lie. He never tried to be charming, and that made him more dangerous than anyone she had known. She gathered her hair into a rough knot and felt the damp at the nape of her neck. He caught the gesture with his eyes and looked away, too late. "Right," he said softly, and then, not as softly, "Please." She wrote. Words came with the speed of rain on glass, crisp and lean. The statement acknowledged late-night work under storm conditions, denied misconduct, and anchored the narrative back to the company's emergency planning for a supplier collapse. They revised, cut another sentence, moved a phrase. His sleeve brushed her elbow. He smelled of cedar and rain. A low heat circled her ribs and did not leave. He tried the old trick. Numbers, logistics, governance. Adrian loved order the way sailors love stars. He stacked facts like bricks and built a wall against the body's language. She knew the trick. She had learned the same one from years of being the calmest person in the room. Her phone chimed. A new message slid into view, a private number. The text was a single line. "Sign Lang's efficiency resolution by sunrise, or the board sees 20 more photos." "Victor Lang," Adrian said, reading over her shoulder. He did not step back. He did not pretend he had not been close enough to read. "He wants the cutbacks. He did not have the votes at midnight. He will have them by 9 if this rots." Lena's jaw tightened. She had seen this game before, from a different chair and a different paycheck. Her father had lost his job to a resolution like this when she was 19. She still kept the union pin in a drawer she never opened. "I will resign," she said. It came out measured. "You sign nothing. You make me the story. It ends there." Adrian shook his head, slow and deliberate. "I will not trade your name for my comfort." He turned to the window and watched the rain as if it had a vote. "The only way through is honesty and proof." "Proof that Victor fed the photos," she said. "Proof that we did not cross a line." The word hung between them and turned their faces into mirrors. He ran a hand through his hair. "My marriage has been a ghost these past months," he said, not as confession, but as weather. "My wife and I have not known how to speak without spreadsheets between us. That is my fault. It is not an excuse to set fire to anyone else." Lena looked back at the screen. The gossip site's footer showed a contact email, a tiny string that made her lips part. "I know that address," she murmured. "It is an alias. I saw it when Victor's aide sent us an anonymous tip about a supplier last quarter, the same misspelled domain. Adrian pivoted. Can you prove that? I archived everything, she said, a habit born from too many careless bosses and one careful mother. She opened a secure folder, retrieved headers, timestamps, the peculiar blunder in the fake address. Pattern matched pattern. A thin line turned sharp. Dawn began to smudge the edge of the city. The storm softened to a steady fall. Adrian stood straighter. We call legal. We draft a statement that names the blackmail. We call my wife before anyone else, and I will speak at 8. You will keep the chair? Lena asked. He looked at her hand on the mouse and then at his own hands. Steady, too steady. No, he said, finally telling the truth to himself. I will not let the company bleed for my shadow. I will step down. I will ask the board to appoint an interim and block the cuts. And I will send Victor's methods to the authorities. She swallowed. The heat in her chest tightened and shifted, part ache, part pride. Then I will be there, she said, but not next to you. 8 o'clock, a small auditorium, a microphone, and a cluster of cameras. Adrian spoke with a quiet clarity that made people lean in. He named the blackmail, presented the evidence without triumph, and refused the so-called efficiency resolution. He apologized to employees for the distraction, to his wife for the distance, and to Lena without saying her name. When he announced his decision to step down as chief executive officer, a murmur ran through the room. He did not flinch. Victor Lang smiled with his mouth and not with his eyes. 30 minutes later, legal filed a complaint, and the board called a vote. It was not close. Victor's chair emptied, just like that. Real consequences in a world that preferred rumors. By noon, the worst of the storm had passed. Lena packed her mug, her spare flats, the cardigan she kept for bad air conditioning days. She left her passkey on the desk and wrote a short note. She did not say goodbye. She wished him good weather. That evening, Adrian stood on a small porch 2 neighborhoods away and waited. Maya opened the door. He smelled paint and lemon oil. She held his gaze for a long time, eyes bright, tireless from other battles. He spoke first, not numbers, not strategy, just the truth, slow and careful. They sat at the kitchen table and let the silence fill with the ordinary music of A House at Dusk. No promises, a small beginning. Sometimes honesty is the most erotic thing in a room because it asks you to stay present when your body wants to flee. Weeks turned into months. Victor faced charges and press, and then he faced a very quiet office with his name scraped off the glass. Vale Meridian held its ground under an interim leader who did not sign away livelihoods. Lena took interviews she did not want. Then one she did, a special projects role with a startup that believed the word team meant something stubborn and old-fashioned. On a late afternoon in autumn, she traced her finger around a coffee cup and looked up as Adrian stepped into the cafe. He had a different stillness now, like a field after rain. They spoke about weather, books, a ridiculous dog in a cone outside. Her bracelet caught the light as she reached for a napkin. He watched the small motion and smiled, tired and real. "Lena," he said. "Adrian," she answered. Their palms met in a brief, gentle shake, and for a second they both felt the shadow of that night, the pull and the restraint, the heat that had not been a secret and had not been a sin because it had not become one. They let the second pass. It did not vanish. It changed shape. Outside, wind ran its fingers through the trees and let the leaves talk. Inside, 2 people who had nearly chosen a different story decided to live this one instead. The air held the faintest trace of cedar and rain, as if memory had a scent and could be carried without shame.